Hi, I'm Giggles,
And I'm Glasses.
and this is our Post Mortem.
So, the general format of a postmortem is what went right, what went wrong, what to improve on in the future, etc. So, we'll start off with what went wrong. Ladies first. We'll talk about redirectors.
Alright, the redirectors didn't make it into the vertical slice, even though they were supposed to. But they, broke, and I just didn't have the time to fix them because they broke in, a bunch of different ways. And it would have took up too much time because I had, levels to make and stuff, so we decided to just, leave them out.
Redirectors were a specific kind of push block that you could use to redirect the beam of a laser block. We were supposed to have more intricate puzzles with lasers instead of lasers that just fire up. Unfortunately, like Google said, they kind of broke. The next thing that went wrong, push blocks in general.
Not really. It was push blocks in tight places that went wrong.
Right.
They got confused with all the walls around them, and you could push them through a wall, which isn't great.
Just general collision problems altogether.
But we kept testing it and narrowed it down to one problem and fixed it.
Right. Let's see, what else? Dropping.
You can only drop in cardinal directions. So when you can't drop in one of those directions, it'll drop in one of the other directions. But it was dropping inside walls.
So again, more collision problems.
Yeah.
And then specifically on my side of things, another thing that gave me trouble was the art for floor tiles. They went through the most iterations out of any of the art, other than the walls kind of changed a little bit, but essentially the floor tiles that we had before we even started posting YouTube videos at the very beginning of Devtober were solid, and it was kind of a checkerboard pattern, and that was too visually stimulating for the levels. And then we tried to do just the grout lines of the floor, and that made it way too busy. It created a lot of optical illusions, a lot of anti-aliasing. Almost looked like Z-fighting, even though it wasn't. So that was no bueno. And then we also had a little bit of trouble with sound effects, specifically making the door sound effects play at the right time. And this was more on the programming side, so I'll defer back to Giggles.
I think sound in general is kind of our weakest part.
Yeah, I'd say.
I think we're pretty new to it. And doing only game jam games, doing the sound effects wasn't
It was essentially, I just found a synth that had a nice effect pad, and I would just play an instance of that instead of trying to record actual sounds.
And it was always one sound on one object. But because the doors open and close and have two different sounds for that, it was two sounds on the same object, and it was just problematic.
Right.
But we made the sounds the exact same length, and then that fixed it.
For the most part.
For the most part.
Hasn't broken yet. In more positive news, the music implementation, doing adaptive music in general, just went swimmingly. We were able to knock it out in an afternoon. The only thing that really needed to be changed was the actual source audio files themselves. For the drone, the bass line, it needed a little bit of a fade in and a little bit of a fade out. Because Unity's audio player is kind of weird, and it does some strange clipping things, and it's still doing it, but it's not doing it nearly as bad. And I think I'm just going to fix that by choosing different instruments and adding more effects to the music at a later date. But the actual adaptive audio part of it was really easy to implement. It was essentially just, hey, have you picked something up? Now you turn on this part of the track. You programmed it out using timers to get the bar length right.
Sort of. But I think it only went right because we had already planned out how we were going to do it.
Yeah, there's a breadth of information to be found on YouTube about how adaptive audio is supposed to work. And it's the most simplified version of adaptive audio there is. It's just replace bar A with bar B. Level transitions. One of the things we didn't actually show in any of the devlog videos. That was an entirely you day. I just made the art the previous night, and then the following morning you were able to crush that. And it's essentially just animations and turning them off and on at the right times.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of objects with the singular animation on it. The only thing was that it took a while, and it was kind of later that we added it, so that's why it wasn't in any of the other ones.
The level design went pretty alright.
I think the level design went so well. I mean, I designed most of the levels. You designed like one level, but I actually drew all the levels out.
Right. That process is what helped the level design itself go right. We essentially bought a graph notebook, and we sketched out the level before actually building them in Unity.
I sketched out the levels.
Right. Not we. You.
Me.
Finishing off strong, we were actually able to finish the vertical slice on time. I think that was one of my biggest anxieties, and I know that you had said it was one of yours, that we weren't going to be able to actually make the vertical slice.
I was worried we weren't going to finish because we didn't have any levels at the beginning of the month.
And that's a nice segue into what to improve next time. I don't know if we'll be doing another Devtober next year, but the next time we go to build a vertical slice of a game, probably need a better plan. We started this Devtober with most of the mechanics really filed down and polished out. It didn't have any added game feel or juice or any of the feedback, but the mechanics were there and they worked, and we had no levels. So we essentially started from scratch. We had a really good player controller with the ability to pick up shapes and push around blocks, and some mediocre level ideas, but nothing down on paper, essentially.
And I think another thing is that the only reason it was possible, or the reason we finished the vertical slice, is because we super overworked. 12-hour days.
Which isn't necessarily good or healthy.
No, I don't recommend that you do that. I think it's something that we need to improve, having specific hours to work.
Definitely.
Because it's kind of different, because you're working for yourself. You're at home doing it.
Right.
So there's no one really forcing you to not work, or to work for that matter. I guess it can go both ways, but I feel like we went this is too much.
Yeah.
I think that even if we weren't working on the game, we were working on these videos.
Yeah.
Or Twitter posts, or specifically me working on Inktober while also doing Devtober. I feel like I tried to do too much, except I actually got everything done.
Yeah, I was supposed to do Inktober too, and I haven't even started. I probably won't. I've just, I did it last year, or I did a version of it last year, but...
I don't think I should have done it all in the first place.
Yeah, we're ambitious.
It's part of the overworking thing.
And on the subject of Twitter, Twitter's video compression just sucks really bad. And any other screenshot Saturdays that I might do in the future for any game really, I'll probably just make a GIF instead of trying to upload an MP4.
Or you could actually do a screenshot.
Yeah.
For Screenshot Saturday.
I could probably do that too. I mean, the opulence of moving imagery. I mean...
Yeah, but as we have learned, moving imagery takes time.
That's very true. It's very true. These were also some of the first videos I've ever edited. I've done a couple of school projects in college, but never a legit YouTube video with commentary. It was mainly just point a DSLR at something and go. Overall, I'd say that we crushed it, but we're very tired.
Yeah.
It was extremely exhausting.
I think we should take a few days to reset and then have a healthier work schedule.
Right.
But I think that it was like the deadline looming thing that kept us working.
It was so much different than a game jam. Game jams were simultaneously like, it was Devtober on steroids, because most of the game jams we've ever done were 48 or 72 hours. But also, they were much lower stakes. I think the stakes were so much higher with Devtober.
I feel like the longer or the deeper we got into the month, the more worried I became and the more like stressed out I was about like not making it.
Yeah. You can see the finish line coming and you really don't want to trip.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all we got for you folks.
If you found any of this interesting, you can like, comment, or subscribe.
Thanks
for watching.